Hey everyone, it's Desiree, and I just wanted to real quick pop on, just like I always do, and just put some signatures together. What I usually do is I take an 8.5 by 11 piece of cardstock, the Recollections craft. I love their craft. And what I do is I just line it with a piece of pattern paper. Now, this is not cardstock, this is a paper, okay? So it's maybe a 30-pound weight, 40-pound weight, if that, I don't know. This is what I usually use. I believe I got this from Amazon. I don't know if it's still available. I'm trying to see here just a little bit more. The sheets are 12 by 12. Yeah, 50 sheets. It doesn't give me a weight, but I just love the images. I thought, and I still think, that the images are just absolutely great for the inside. So if you take an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, and even if I put that there, you can see this typewriter is going to be there. So I would actually cut this so that, you know, that's going to sit here and it's going to sit on one side. So it just lines the inside of my covers a little bit. Just gives them a background. So it's like an art journal. You know, we want to have it to have a background. So I usually use these, and I usually keep a stock of them. Excuse me. Because what I do, unless it's really planned out, when it comes to the journals that I'm putting together, for whether a customer or somebody's asked me or they're going into my shop, I keep these on hand because this is my primary base. 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. I score it. Once this is in, I score it at 5.5. That's my cover. That's the size of journal that I create. Now, sometimes I'll put a 1-inch spine in here so that there's two signatures that are fitting in here. So if I'm creating that spine, then I add a piece of chipboard in here, put a piece of material over it, but it's still, the base is still the same. Now, again, where I say where I'm planning it, you know, if I'm going to use a complete digital set, or if it's going to have a complete theme, or whatever it may be. But otherwise, I just set these up. I have these setting aside, and when I run out of these bases with the paper, then I'm just going to shoot through, grab my papers, and create these, because I don't sew on my pages. My ephemera pieces are the things that are sewn, if I do any sewing. So I don't sew on my pages anymore. I used to. I just don't anymore. So, you know, we change, we evolve. And that's what I've done. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a couple of the covers, putting those together, and then I'm just going to grab some papers, and you're going to see me just sewing some signatures together, because there are some new journals that I do want to start, and start putting together. I think that one's really cool, so I'm going to do that one. I really do. I love these papers. I just love the looks of them. I love the designs. I mean, I think that's cool. These are just a little bit big, but doesn't mean I won't use them at some point. I love that paper. This is my ultimate favorite paper. I know I used it in a previous video for a wraparound folder. I wish I could just have sheets and sheets of this one. Okay, now wait a minute, that one's cool. And let's see, I'll pick one more. That's kind of cool. That's a little big. I think that one's going to be it. Although I do like that one too. Oh, and I like that one. Oh, this one wins. Okay. So now if my sheet here is 8.5 by 11, you can see I have a very thin border that goes around it from the cardstock. And that's fine, because then that means, what does that mean? So I want to make sure that my pattern's going to fit. Okay, it will. So I'm going to cut this 10 3/4. So I want to make sure that I'm doing that width, and then my top is going to be just under 8.5. Let's see, we're going to cut that like that. So now that's my piece. All right, so let me get these cut as well. Same thing. So it's almost like I'll cut them 10 7/8 by 8 3/8. You know, I take off that eighth of an inch, just to give me that thin border. Now I need to check on this one again, because I don't think I took off what I should have. Oh, no, I did. Look at that. Okay, miracles can happen. All right. So you always want to make sure, because I always forget sometimes, is you want to make sure that your paper is in that correct orientation and which side that you want. I actually want this top side for my journal and just that small strip of red. So now I don't need that anymore. Yes, I do save all scraps. I use them for my collage. I use them to cover up tags if I need a section, but I do keep all scraps. Absolutely. Okay. So now, and I am going to use my glue stick. So you can see when I put this down onto my craft, it is a very, very thin border. And I just want a very thin border. I really do want this to cover up as much as possible. But I do want that edge on the of the cardstock to show through. All right, let's spread that out just a little bit. Now we'll turn this, and then we'll put glue on this side. Wow. I mean, now you can also use, you can use any glue. Here's what you want to be careful of. You want to be careful that no matter what glue you use, you just want to use a little bit. Okay? The more, because a lot of glues have a water content, a high water content. Now, like Fabri-Tac does not. Fabri-Tac has it's all alcohol. There we go. Now I can push her down. So the higher of the water content that you're going to have within your glue, the more likely that's where your buckling's going to come. Now, it will flatten itself out. Now, that's one of the reasons why I use this. This is the Spellbinders Mini Brayer. Absolutely love this thing. And I'm just smushing this down to make sure that the glue is evenly across this. I don't worry if it's got perfect adhesion, even on the sides, because I sew around these before I do put my signature together. On my cover, I will sew, but it's only the outside. I'm only going around twice around this image. So it's nothing too fancy. I mean, there's times if I do add my 1-inch spine, there's times where I'll put a strip here and I'll put another line here, by all means. But usually just twice around the outside. Sorry about that. I wanted to get 2 more pieces of this. So, but this is a godsend when it comes to that piece. And you can see, even with the stick, you can see this is starting to pull up. Again, there's moisture in this, and it's going into the fibers. These did the same thing, but you can see now they're flat, and they will. They'll flatten out. Just let them dry. They will go back to normal. Me, I'm impatient, so I just keep moving. And even if I don't wait for them to flatten out, it will still flatten itself out if you've already put it into your journal. So it's all good. But you can see, we do, as paper crafters, we use so many different glues, adhesives. We use a dry, we use a wet, and there's only certain times in which we use these things. You know, for my journals, I use my glue stick, and I use my Fabri-Tac. They are my glues of choice. Now, another glue that I've been using lately, and I used to use it all the time, is Aleene's Tacky Glue. Now this is cut a little shorter because, you know, that's just what I do. And that's fine. It's just going to give me a different border. So now that I know that, I'm going to get this closer down to the edge. I'm going to make sure it's as even as we can go. And there we go. So we just have more of the borders on the side. And then I'm going to come across with the brayer and go across this piece just a couple times. And again, that's going to be separating out that glue, get it into the fibers so that these 2 pieces of paper will stay together. And then my last one. I don't worry about inking these because I will ink around the covers before the signatures are sewn, and I'll be able to ink those edges up. And plus 9 out of 10, I usually forget to ink the edges. I mean, you can ink it before you glue your pieces in. But I'm usually like thinking ahead and saying, okay, I need to do this, and then I totally forget. So I always get it after I'm done sewing twice around my cover. But I started using the Turbo Tacky Glue by Aleene's, the one that sits upside down, which is really nice, I'm just saying. And again, it all depends. If you use a little, you'll be fine. Every glue is going to buckle. Just across that, because that I'm sure is an obnoxious sound. All right, so these are all set. I'm gonna make sure I put my cap back on. That took forever. All right, so what I'm gonna do, I'll be right back. Now, again, you can see that one's starting out flat. You can see how this one's curled. If I put it like that, you'll see it even more. You can see this side's gonna, it's okay. They will flatten out. This one, the same thing. We've got those curves. I did the same exact steps on these, and you can see they're flat. All right, so they will flatten themselves out. So what I'm gonna do is I am going to just sew twice around all of these, and I will be right back. I can't fit my sewing machine up here, and plus who would want to watch me sew this many here? So I'll pretty much just show a couple of the signatures being sewn, but this is what I planned on getting ready for just the general journals to be created, so that I can make the different ephemeras, and you will see all those videos. Yay, I know you're excited. Okay, I'll be right back. Okay, so I am back. I have sewn around the outside. I just chose these 7 patterns. I love the polka dots. Got some great rulers here, the luggage, these postcards, the old boat, the alphabet. This is nice, bright and cheery, maybe a different vibe to the journal itself. And then this way, I have no idea which way this goes now, so we're just going to make it go that way. Some awesome letters and so forth. All right, so what I'm going to do first is, of course, I'm going to grab my vintage photo. I can't do without. It should be okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually put corners on these. I have some metal corners. I'm going to see what that looks like for one of my pieces. I don't know, am I seeing that? I wonder if I have to re-ink that. I like to go over the strings as well, or the threads, I should say. And that's just to dull them down. You know, I use white threads whenever I sew, and I don't change them. I don't change it to a brown or blue or anything like that. I keep them that white. I think it just adds, okay, one, really I'm lazy. I'm just not going to change the threads. It's really annoying to change those threads. So this is what it looks like when you ink it. Now, again, you don't have to do that now. I even wait until the end when everything's in there. So whichever way you want to go is fine. So these are my metal corners. That's what they look like. I need to grab my jewelry stuff because I need my flat pliers, or just my pliers there. All right, got them. As I make awesome sound effects. All right, so basically what I do is I put this there, whether I'm going over the stitches or not. Now, you know, I think I'm also going to apply I think I have a smaller tube. I want to grab some E6000. People say when I go away they can't hear me when I'm bending down. Okay, so I have these little tubes, but they don't have a thingy. I know what I'll do, I think. All right, so I am going to take just a little bit of this EK6000, and I am going to now look for a toothpick. I'll be right back. All right, well, now that took forever and a day. Okay, so I'm going to take some of this E6000 and I'm just going to put that up in the crevice of this. It's just going to give it a little bit more security. Okay, so I'm going to put that on my corner like I did before. Make sure it's up in the corner. And I'm going to take my pliers and I'm just going to crimp it down. So I've got that glue in there. And now, once I know that's in there, now I'm really going to crimp it. Because I do want it to be flush. I want it to be right up against that. And now I'm going to do that with the other ones. Now the good thing with the E6000, it doesn't dry right away. So what I'm going to be able to do is put that in there for the other three. And then, you know, put them all together. So let's see, I got one on, so that's two. And then that was a lot there. All right. So that's three, and now I just need one more. So I know you guys have seen all of this process. Well, the metal things, they're new. But I wanted to make sure, you know, showing the signature and all of that. Clamping, as I got quiet. And you see the glue will actually ooze out, which, you know, feels awesome, just saying. All right, we'll put this one on. So again, just to show the process when I put them together, because usually I don't have a theme per se, unless, you know, it's Christmas or something like that. Now there is one of these, because what I like to do is just have these set up with the papers, you know, the book pages, the music sheets, the coffee dyed papers. I like to have these all set up so that, you know, I can just fill them. You know, not necessarily with a digital kit. But I will say, oh, now I gotta clean these. I will say one of these, there is a beautiful digital kit that I found. But this time I'm not going to put any of the pages in the journal. I'm going to use all of the ephemera. So all the pages will be plain, and then the ephemera will come from the digital kit. So I think that will be really cool. And just something a little different, you know, that you can do. All right, so let me put these away. Let me put these in here. Because again, I'm not going to show you every single one of these. You'd all holler at me. So now the corners are in. And now I'm going to fold this. Now I do need to get my scoreboard as I make a loud bang. because I do like to score in the middle. Now I'm going to score at 5.5. That's a given. So I'm going to make sure my paper is snug. I should have scored before I put the corners on. And I'm going to go down a couple times just to get that good crease in there. And then I'm just going to edge the fold in, because again, you've got this paper and there's probably an air pocket in there. And then I'll just push that down. And then I'm going to push it forward. And just get that done. All right, and of course I'm off a little bit, but that's okay because I can move this like that. And then I can put my paper creaser to it. All right, there we go. So now that is one of our covers. So once I have this done, I set it aside. Now what I want to do is I want to look at my pages, the stuff that's going to fill this book up, the things that I pull. And there's usually a very systematic way that I pull my papers. For some reason, it's very methodical and very organized. I usually don't deter, so it's really funny. So I'll be right back. So these are the papers that I usually choose. I mean, it could be missing another shade of ivory or cream in a solid cardstock. Could be missing some of the parchment paper that I may choose. But I like to have doilies. Now these are actually coffee dyed. I love this lined paper. Now here's what's weird. It looks aged. I don't know how it got this way, but this is something that I had gotten at the dollar store a long time ago. But again, not eons, but it just aged beautifully. So I love pulling a sheet of this. I don't have to coffee dye it. Of course, I've got my coffee dyed pieces of paper. There will be 5 of them in this journal. And one of the lined, there will be 2 of the cream or ivory, I forget what this is actually called, papers. I have a sheet of music paper that will be going in. I have a sheet of dictionary that I have pulled that it will be going in again. And then of course there's going to be 2 of the book pages that I create my hinge system on, which I'm going to show you. So I'm going to set these aside. And then I'm actually going to create an envelope that'll fold between the 2 pages with these deli sheets. So that's what I'm going to start with. So a simple envelope construction. So what you want to do, these are 12 by 12. And again, these are simple deli sheets. I get mine off of Amazon. Very reasonable. I think you get like 500 or 200 in a pack for next to nothing. Now, what I like to do is, again, I'm going to take one side. So if this is 12, I'm going to take this one side and bring it in about 3 inches. And I'm going to fold it. And then I'm going to bring my other side in, and I'm just going to cross that over. Again, I do not worry about if this seam is in the center. And I'm going to crease here as well. Now, once this is creased, what I am going to do is I'm going to fold this side up next. And I'm going to bring it up about 1 inch. Again, I don't measure. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to bring this up about 1 inch as well. And now I'm going to open all of this up. The outer corners on the top and the bottom are the ones that I'm going to cut out. So I'm going to cut this one out. And then I'm going to cut this one out. Now I'm going to put an angle on this. So again, I'm going to put an angle down on this one, and then I'm going to come in across the line. So that when I close this, that is what you're going to see. Now again, I'm going to do the same thing up here. I'm going to take off these corner pieces, and then I'm going to come in on an angle to remove it completely. Again, I'm going to go down to that point, I'm cutting across, and then I'm going to come this way. So now I've got the same thing on the top and the bottom, and this is what this is going to look like. So let's see if I turn it this way, you'll see. So I have these points here, and then I have these flaps here. Okay, so you've got these two sections cut out, and you've got these flaps. So now what you want to do is, and I'm going to use my art glitter glue here, because that's what's in front of me. I'm first going to glue this down, and I'm just going to put a bead by the edge, and I'm going to fold this over. And then make sure nothing came inside. And then I'm going to push that down. I'm not going to glue these two sides down. What I am going to do, though, is fold this in half. And I'm going to put this up on a line, and this measures just under 5 inches, which is what we want. So I'm going to fold that over, and I'm going to fold this over. All right, so we've got that. Then I'm going to grab the doily, actually, and I'm going to fold that in half. And I'm going to get this to the outside. Now the only thing that I'm going to do here is I'm going to put a bead of glue along this center. And then I'm just going to come up a little bit on the sides here. Now I'm going to place this on the inside, right at the fold, and then push down. And you'll see what we'll do with that. All right, now I'm going to set that aside. I'm going to grab 4 of these. These are my hinges that I use. These are just brown paper bags. You can get them at the dollar store. And then I just cut the bottom off so that it's completely flat, folded in half, and then I cut 2-inch strips. All right, and I'm going to need 2 sets of these. All right, so for this, I am going to use my Fabri-Tac. So the reason why I use my Fabri-Tac is because as I'm constructing these, I do not know if I'm going to sew on these. And I like to have the Fabri-Tac in there. It's kind of pliable. All right, so I'm going to line this up on my grid along one of these lines. And I'm going to fold this in half. So I know I have that line there. And I'm going to put, oh, now we gotta wait for my Fabri-Tac to fill down. you keep doing that, you'll get the fumes. Whew! Yeah, a lot of fumes going on there. All right. Wow. You know, this is what's amazing when it comes to this stuff. All right, so I'm just going to hold that there like that. There we go. Okay. Now we're moving. I don't know. I think the glue dries in this, no matter how we plug it up. So I'm going to make sure that I've got a good coat of Fabri-Tac down this strip. All right, now I'm also going to grab I'll just keep that on the side. All right, so then I'm going to take one of my book pages and just as this is lined up, I'm going to line this up as well. So I'm using my grid mat to keep the items straight as best as I can. Now I can use that book page that's on the other side as my guide so that I know where to put my glue. And this is just not coming out right. All right. And now I'm going to add the other page. Same thing. I'm going to line it up against the lines in my grid mat. And then I'll push down. And then I can just put my glue down on this as well. I'm going to come up. I don't know why. It seems like this glue, there's air getting in this bottle. So if any of you know how to stop the air from going in the bottle, please let me know. Because this is not cheap glue. And I don't like to have globs like that. So I'm going to take another strip and I'm just going to line it up on each other. And now I'm going to come in with my brayer again. Go along the sides. And I'll use my scissors to trim, just to make those even. And then I will just come in and put that fold right where it should be. Doesn't matter that these aren't even. I don't worry about that. Again, it just adds something to that. So now I'm going to do the next one. Same thing. I'm going to put this here. I'm going to fold this in half just to find the halfway mark if I wanted them, if I was focusing for them to be even. Again, I'm adding Fabri-Tac and I'm just putting it down because I don't have, I mean, I could put the book page down to measure. Okay, this needs to sit here. I just didn't do that yet. And again, I am never holding myself responsible for what these book pages say. This is a William, oh, I forget who this is again. Just like that, it went out of my head. The book's called Sanctuary. So, it's a good piece of literature, so it should be fine. Alright, so now I can use that book page as my guide to add my glue. And then I'll bring that up. And then again, lining this up, using my grid, which helps, and then pushing down. Now we're just going to go to town. There's got to be a way I can warm up this Fabri-Tac without blowing it up. Remember, it is alcohol. Just say. I'm going to take this second piece. I'm just going to line that up along with all the sides. I'm going to push down and then come in with a brayer. Now I'm going to clean up this side, and all I have to do is just rub back and forth, and you can see it's whatever came off the side is going to clean itself right up. I'm going to use my scissors, even up the sides, and I think for these pages I am going to quick go to my sewing machine. And I want to set, no, you know what? I'm going to use my stamp. Okay. So let me go get my stamps and I'll be right back. Okay, finally found that stamp set. So this is one by Stampers Anonymous and it's called Stitches. So maybe you don't have a sewing machine, you can use one of these to stamp on your pages, which is what I'm going to do. Because even though I have a sewing machine, there's times where I don't want to use it. Okay, so let me fold this. Put that down. Okay. So now I'm going to come in, well, I'm going to use this one first. And I want to go along the edge where these two meet. So I'm going to try to eyeball that. I'm using my potting soil archival ink. And you can see it goes right along that line. And again, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to bring it down just a little bit. There we go. Because you do want it to go on both sides. And then I'm going to do these two as well. This time I'm going to turn it. And then same thing. And then I'm going to use this one and do that on the other side. This one's a lot more fun. All kinds of crazy. Again, just because you don't have a sewing machine doesn't mean you can't get the look of stitches. It also doesn't mean that you couldn't just draw those in as well. So, you know, that's always an option also, where you could just draw, you know, your stitches in to give that texture. Okay, so we have this, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold all of my pages in half. Again, now this is the normal process that I take to just set my journals up. They're pretty much all set up the same ways. I'm not putting any digital papers in there. Those become the ephemera So this is normally how I'm putting the base together. So now I'm just folding the items together, and I'm taking note on how many. So I've got 2 of these, 1 of this. So that means now I'm at 4. It's going to be 5. 6. 7. 8. 9. 10. 11. 12. And 13. I usually go with 13. So I've got some coffee dyed papers. I've got my lined. I've got these. I've got my envelope. And I've got my book. Well, where's my cover? And here's my cover. So let's get our papers in somewhat of an order. All right. I'm just throwing them in here, seeing what's working, what won't, because you never know. Here. Put this here. I'm gonna put this in here. See how I'm putting that envelope in there. I'll put this in here. I'll put that one in there, and then I'll put this one in here. So now I'm just gonna push all those up and make that even. Now here I'm looking to see anything that's sticking out, which that music sheet is. So now I'm going to take this and I'm going to open her back up. And I'm going to go to the music sheet. And I'm going to change the size of it. And what I mean by that is I'm going to take my ruler, I'm going to tear that off, because my pages do not need to be equal. Alright, so now I can put that in there like that. Again, for the most part, pages are even. Now what I want to do is I want to take these and I want to put them in my cover. So you can see these pages are going right up to the edge, and I don't like that. I like to have it a little bit shorter, so that means I'm going to take 1/4 inch off the top. And see how these are sticking out? That's okay, but I would rather them not stick out this far. Now don't get me wrong, as you sew these in and push them down, you can see that they go in further. But I'm just going to do some minor trimming here, keeping everything the same side. So I'm going to flip that over because that's my center. I'm going to come in with this, and I'm actually going to use my decal trimmer. Now I know this is loud, but I really like it. And all I'm going to do, at least for this, is I'm going to take off 1/4 of an inch. So it's very loud. When it comes to my normal sheets of paper. My dictionary page I'm going to take down to 5. I want that deckled edge to be prominently on the long edge. Again, I'm taking my coffee dyed out to 5 1/4. And I'm going to also do that with my cream paper. My music sheet, I'm going to take that to 5. My lined paper, I'm going to take that to 5 1/4 as well. So all of that deckled edge now is going to sit on the outside edge. I don't know, it reminds me of, you know, some books, you know, that would have that deckled edge. I think it looks great. I'm going to take my book pages down to 5. Now, I think I've got to look at the one that's in the center. Yes. I'm going to take that down to 5. Okay, I just spilled something. I will be right back. Oh, we're going to add some more stuff. Oh, good Lord. Okay. Well, this is fun. We'll be right back. Yay! I spilled a whole thing of water here. Hold on. Okay, we are back. Many paper towels later. But you know what? It did. It went all over my papers. There's some more there. I do save these strips, so let me get these out of the way. But that's okay. I mean, I did not, guys, I cannot stress enough, I did not throw these papers out. Yes, I've got, this is what I've got on the edge. So let me show that to you. This is what I got. I think it's kind of cool. So I've got that decoration there. I've got some there. It just made it more crinky. I've got that crinkiness there. I've got that there, so that's cool. That up on top. This was the big one, so I just think that's cool looking. So again, and all it was water, you know, watercolor water. It had some white and purple in it, so okay, not a big deal. No, I would not throw those papers out. You know, now I can start calling it junk because otherwise, you know, it got all of that mess on there. But no, I'm still not going to call it a junk journal. I call them journals. I was just really taken by that video that I had watched by Jelly Bean. So, you know, I honor that. Okay, so let's go back to where we were. We were cutting them down below because, again, when we fold our, when we make the fold in our cover, that's at 5 1/2. So your papers, you always want them 5 1/4 and less. Okay, because then they'll be on just on the inside of the cover. Now, some people, now again, I've always said before, I like it when items peek out, and I do, but the tabs and the charms. Papers, I don't want my papers right up to that edge. All right, so now when I close this, and these get in here, and I hope everything's in here the way that it should be. Now I've got this huge deckled edge that's going along that, which I think is great. Now, to trim the top and the bottom, now I'll come in with my straight edger. So again, I'm going to open this up, but there are some things that I am not going to worry about, like the book pages. I'm going to worry about all the pages that are sitting at 8.5. So I am just going to continue to cut the straight edge, but I am not going to be concerned, okay, is this 8 1/4 or is this sitting at 8.5? I just know I at least have to get 1/4. I like it when the pages are different heights and have those different hills and valleys in the pages. I just think it adds a different texture, a different look to it. So this I really don't measure. I just make sure I'm hitting that 1/4 of an inch to take off, because I at least want that off each of the pages. If I go a little bit more, I'm okay with that. And as I said, I do save these little strips for when I collage. I just add them in. All right, so now we are going to look at each one, each page. It's going to go in the center. And then we're just going to refold, making sure that the folds are in line with each other. Now, you could, make a template for when you start doing your signature. I'm not going to do that this time, only because I know I'm only going to have three holes. And you can see that now has a nice gap at the top and a nice gap at the bottom. And now when it's closed, I don't see any of the pages. I will see all of my tassels and my tags that come out. So now I'm going to get my clips and my sewing. All right. They were at the other end of my table. So I'm going to get this clipped real quick, because this is where I want this. Make sure it's down in that crevice. Snap my finger in there. Turn it. Again, snapping my thumb in there. And again, they are just holding those pages in so that we have that. And that's all I need. Now, if I want something stronger, the bulldog clips are the best. They just hold the pages like there is no tomorrow. I mean, they are not going to let anything go. You can get these at the dollar store, and you would just really need one pack. I mean, unless you're mass producing, like I do. I mean, sometimes I've got 10 or 15 lined up that I'm just putting together. So there you go. So either one are fine. But the bulldogs do hold it a lot better. Okay, so I've got my awl. And I'm going to use my black wax thread. Usually I use a cream or a white, but why not? Let's do something different. And what I like to do is I measure the height of the book 3 times. And then by doing that, that gives me options. It gives me choices. If I want to tie a bow in the center, or if I want to have dangles coming down on the bottom. And I think this time I am going to have dangles coming down on the bottom. I'm going to take my awl here. I'm going to bend my book. I'm going to eyeball the center. I'm going to puncture through. I'm going to come up. It looks like I'm going to come down about 1 1/4 inches, 1.5 inches. I'm going to turn her around to do the same thing, about 1 1/4 inches, 1.5 inches. Doesn't have to be perfect. I'm going to puncture through. So when I do my sewing, I always have an odd number of holes. So in this case, I have 3. I start in the center and I start from the inside out. And I pull through and I leave this tail. I'm going to turn my book around and I'm going to come from the outside back in. And I'm going to pull this through. I'm going to skip that center hole and I'm going to come out through the top or the other side. And I'm going to pull that through. I'm going to turn this book. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back in that center. Now what I want to do is I want to pull this tight and pull this out of my way. I'm going to pull it towards the top because I'm coming in from the bottom. I'm going to come in that hole and I don't want to cross the threads, meaning that other thread that's there. When I come up, I want to make sure I'm on the other side of where this string is. And you'll tell if you've crossed the threads. You'll feel it. It won't be loose. And this feels pretty loose. Now I'm going to put, if I didn't lose it, which I think I did, I want to put my topper on this. There we go. So now I have a string on this side and I have one on this side. I'm going to pull straight up. And I know I didn't catch the threads because it did get tight. I'm going to close this, check the tension, make sure she's tight. If she's not, I'm going to pull up again. And now I'm just going to put my knot in. And then I'm going to come in the opposite way. And then I'm going to let them hang. Because these will be my tassels. Now this one I can shorten up just a little bit. And now I can remove the bulldog clips. And this book is ready. Now, one of the things that you always want to make sure, and I never do make sure of it, make sure the pattern paper that you have on the inside, if you've done that, is sitting the same way that your book is. Ask me how I know. Yeah, that was something that I didn't get. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm actually looking through this and saying, oh, please say my words are on the right, everything's going the right side. Okay, so here's my center. Now, when we get to that envelope, so here, what we've created with the doily is really a tuck because of the way that we've put glue. We can add glue up to the side to make that a pocket now if we want. But by just putting glue here, we've given ourselves options for in case we change our minds, because we all know we do it, right? Right. Before you sew this together, maybe there's a portfolio that you want to put in here that you've created. Those are the things that you want to think about. You know, is there a flip out that you want to create here? In the next book that I'm going to show you, I'm going to show you one of those flip outs that you can create and put in this book or this type of journal. All right, so, and it's going to be actually, you know, a file folder. Start, that's the base of it, because I came into a bunch of them recently that'll sit here and then it'll just keep on flipping out. So it's flipping out. Okay, that's funny. So it's really kind of cool. I love my deckled edge trimmer. When it comes to these edges, it's just absolutely awesome. So you have your pocket here, so when you fold this out, you know, because you've sewn it, you have a pocket here. You can just clip out this section here. And then the same thing on the other side. You know, you have a pocket now on this side where you can put stuff, and you created it yourself. So you don't have to buy them. I mean, you can. They are available on Amazon. I use them as covers. When it comes to that, again, I had a friend, and not that I was fortunate, but she just didn't want to do this end anymore. She got into another craft that she is just absolutely thriving in. I could not be happier for her. So I had obtained all of these bags and everything else. So, but you can make your own. That's the beauty of it. Whether you use a brown paper bag or these deli sheets, if you like the crinkle. Some people just like that sound. But paper bags make that sound as well. With your book pages, if you don't have a book, you know, that's big enough to be opened like this, you know, why not create your own hinge like I do using the brown paper bags? I think it adds a different type of texture. It adds a different touch to it. So be creative. Again, mine are vintage style because honestly, I don't know, you know, when these books, they look vintage because they have aged, but I don't believe that they are vintage. So mine are just vintage style. When it comes to that, and I'm absolutely good with that. So I hope this helped. I know everyone loves to see the sewing of a signature. Again, I always make sure I have odd. Usually I put 5, but because this one I didn't have any small pieces that were folded in there, and I didn't need to have a strong sew signature, then I just went with the 3. When I show you that flippy fold out thing, which will be next, as I keep on doing this, I will have 5 in here. So stay tuned for that. All right. So I do hope you enjoyed this. Again, I'm going to show you more of just putting these together, and then we're going to get to ephemera. So we're going to be all over the place, but I do hope you enjoy it. If not, I'm sorry. My videos are long. They're gabby. I like to gab, but make sure you guys understand and see all the different things that you can do with paper. So please, everything that I use when it comes to my journals is sitting in my Amazon storefront. It is an affiliate link that you'll be clicking on, so I want to be transparent on that. Meaning, so if you click on that link and you make any purchases, I do receive a small commission from those purchases that you make, but no change to you when it comes to the price. But all of my journal stuff kind of really does sit, about 95% does sit within that Amazon account. Now, my Stampers Anonymous, you know, you can get those stamps that I use, you can get those anywhere. So if you have any questions, make sure you leave those down below, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Continue to enjoy your day. Continue to smile. Try to smile at least once. Try to laugh at least once. We're getting through our journey, and that's a good thing, right? Right. But it's still the most important for me thing is always be creative, even if it's just a little bit each day. Till next time, guys. Take care.